But first, let's talk about what has been happening between Iran and Israel. Is the US president in control? Because as far as the war in West Asia is concerned, it has escalated. Donald Trump says that he's the one who's calling all the shots, even as Iran and Israel carried out a fresh wave of strikes against each other. Both countries have now announced the cessation of strikes. The first announcement came in from Iran, which struck Israel first. Iranian media said the country has completed its operation against Israel. Shortly after, Israeli officials announced that the country is halting its attacks on Iran as well. Now, the announcement comes shortly after US President Donald Trump had urged both sides to stop shooting immediately. In another Truth Social post, Trump said that both sides are looking for a ceasefire. In fact, he said, and I quote him, "Final negotiations on peace are proceeding, subject to ignorance or stupidity getting in its way. The blockade will remain in place and in full force and effect until a final deal is reached. Things should move quickly." For now, Iran and Israel have ended their strikes, but Lebanon still remains a volatile front. Israel has threatened to strike Beirut if Hezbollah attacks Israeli towns and settlements. But the Hezbollah-Israel conflict is not being fought in isolation. Remember, Iran has threatened strikes against Israel if there is no peace in Lebanon. Sunday's strikes on Israel were a sign of Iran putting that warning into action. And in the middle of all this, Donald Trump's relationship with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is being put to test. The last two phone calls have been intense. On Sunday, both leaders spoke with each other, after which Trump said that he is the one who calls the shots and not Netanyahu. The latest statement comes a few days after the phone call in which Trump had called Benjamin Netanyahu crazy and lashed out at the Israeli leader for the increasing attacks against Lebanon. Iran has been defiant on making Lebanon a part of the ceasefire. But Trump on Sunday said in an interview that he was not demanding Lebanon's inclusion in the truce negotiations, even though the Iranian side wanted it. Now, according to Donald Trump, the parties are very close to a deal, but the whole trajectory of it depends on whether more attacks unfold in West Asia. The next few hours, days and weeks could potentially decide if Donald Trump does in fact call the shots, and more importantly, will Israel listen to him? All right, let me welcome my guest on the show. Colonel David B. D. Roche is joining us. He's a professor at the Thayer Marshall Institute and former Deputy Director for Peacekeeping in the Office of the Secretary of Defense. Colonel David, welcome to WION. Can I start by asking you why it is increasingly seeming so that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, is not really listening to the US President, despite him calling for peace, for ceasefire, and the fact that the US President just a few hours earlier had said that he's the one who calls the shots? Clearly, that wasn't taken into consideration when this massive escalation happened.
Yeah, he calls some shots, but not all of them. So basically, Netanyahu pursues his country's national security interests, and President Trump pursues his country's national security interests. Usually there's a great deal of alignment, but I think the issue here was Netanyahu was supposedly, I think he was bluffing, but supposedly he was prepared to march on Beirut and destroy the southern suburbs of Beirut, which is a traditional Hezbollah stronghold and where much of the Hezbollah leadership has relocated to as Israel has invaded the south. And he stopped doing that. That was supposed to lead to a ceasefire in Lebanon. But I think that Netanyahu identified a target of such importance, perhaps a ballistic missile factory or senior Hezbollah leadership. So he attacked that, even though it was located in the Dahiya region of South Beirut. That led to an Iranian attack against Israel. Iran is very, very sensitive to the charge that they abandoned their Lebanese Hezbollah ally, a charge which I've publicly made, and I think the record bears out. And so Israel responded to the attack on Israel with attacks on Iran. Iran has declared military action over for their part, and I think Israel has as well. I think we'll see many more flare-ups like this because, quite frankly, Israel cannot abide by anything that gives Lebanese Hezbollah a safe haven anywhere in Lebanon. They'll probably identify a target and attack it no matter where it's located if they view it's important enough or threatening enough.
Colonel David, it's interesting that you say that we will see many more of such flare-ups, because that was what I was coming to next. Do you think that this could be perhaps the last escalation that the world is witnessing and has to grapple with before a peace deal happens? Because there's a lot of talk about the peace deal, and today as well the US president has posted on Truth Social about a final peace deal being, going forward and being achieved in the next few days in a short period of time. Do you think that's going to happen and this is the last escalation? Why do you say that we will see many more such flares?
Yeah, no, this is not the final thing, and a lasting peace deal is not in the near future cards. Quite frankly, both sides are too far apart. I'm talking about the U.S. and Iran here. Both sides think they won. And the terms that each side is seeking to impose are not really middle ground. They are maximalist positions. So the United States is demanding the Strait of Hormuz be open and neutral civilian shipping to include Indian shipping. Iran says, oh, it's already open. You just have to, instead of going through the international shipping lanes, which lay in Omani waters, you have to go through our waters, subject yourself to an inspection and pay us a fee. Those two positions are irreconcilable. Similarly, the U.S. demands for the removal of the enriched uranium for Iran. Those are unacceptable to Iran. So I think what we're going to see is a period of negotiations where we agree on general principles and then fight when we come into conflict over how those general principles are implemented. So, there's been a series of exchanges at sea where Iran has sought to attack neutral civilian shipping, and the United States has attacked the launch points of Iranian boats and drones. I think we'll see that. It's noteworthy that most of what Israel targeted were air defense sites. I think that if Israel gets an indication that Iran is building an effective air defense site, they will attack those air defense sites, because that enables both Israel and the United States to maintain freedom of escalation over Iran when they want it.
All right, so let's wait and watch how this moves forward. I'll leave it there. Thanks very much, Colonel David de Roche, for joining us on WION and sharing your perspective.
It's an honor.